Okay, hello class. So today we are going to go over the homework questions that you have done for yesterday, and I'm going to introduce you guys to perpendicular slopes and how that works. So first, let's go over these questions real quick. Now, find the equation find the equation of the line that is parallel to the given equation and goes through the given point. What you always must remember is that parallel lines have the same slope. That's the number one thing I need you to remember. And so the slope is always in the format of y equals mx plus b. It is whatever is in front of the x. So here, the slope it says is negative, but that really means that the slope is just simply negative 1. So then I'm going to use this and the coordinate x comma y to help solve for the problem here. Right now, it would be much easier for you to follow this if you have your homework in front of you. So have it where you can see and just go follow it along with me, so you can spot where you might have went wrong with your homework and things like that. So y equals mx plus b, that's the equation of the line that we're trying to solve for, that is parallel to this equation. Now the slope has to be the same. My x and my y, I'm going to plug it in as so. So I get negative 4, because that's my y coordinate, is equal to negative 1 for my slope, which is m, times positive 4, which is your x value, plus b. Negative 4 is equal to negative 4 plus b. And when you add the 4 to both sides of the equation, they both cancel out. So what does that mean? B value simply becomes 0. So my equation of the line will be y equals negative x plus 0. Or you can just leave it as y equals negative x. It does not matter. Okay, my next question passes through negative 2 comma 4 and parallel to that equation. All right, so then what am I supposed to do with the slope here with this point? Once again, plug it into the equation y equals mx plus b, and then solve for the y-intercept. So y value is 4, x value is negative 2, so 4 is equal to negative 5 over 2 times negative 2 plus b. And now here, remember what I told you yesterday, that fraction times a number like this, you can think of it as multiplying it by over 1. And multiply the top and the bottom together, you get 4 is equal to positive 10 over 2, because double negatives makes it a positive 10. 10 divided by 2 here, I hope you guys can solve for, that's 5. Subtract 5 on both sides, you get b to be negative 1. 4 minus 5 just simply becomes negative 1 there. I'm not quite done after that. That's because after I solve for this, I need to plug it back into my original equation, y equals mx plus b. And so what I'm going to end up getting is that the y value is equal to the slope, which is negative 5 over 2x, minus 1 for my y-intercept. I'm going to plug the y-intercept in with the slope, and that's going to be my equation that is parallel to this equation and also goes through negative 2 comma 4. All right, next question. Slope the point. Negative 1 is equal to negative 1 half negative 4 plus b. I'm going to go over it just a little bit quicker because I hope that you guys have all finished this. Subtract 2 on both ends of the equation. I get negative 3 is equal to b. So my final equation is y equals negative 1 half x minus 3 for my equation. Parallel to this, going through the point, negative 2 fifths times 2, y is negative 1 plus b. Negative 1 is equal to negative 4 over 5 plus b. So my b value here, unfortunately it's a fraction, but I'm adding negative 1 with positive 4 over 5. Well, negative 1 is the same thing as saying negative 5 over 5 plus 4 over 5. This becomes negative 1 over 5 for my final answer. So I'm going to get y is equal to negative 2 fifths x minus 1 fifth for my equation. Again, take the slope to be the same and the coordinate. So I get y is equal to 7 over 3x plus b. That's the same slope. I'm going to plug in my y, plug in my x. So I get negative 3 is equal to 7 over 3 times negative 3 plus b. When you do your math by putting this over 1 and multiplying the top and the bottom together, you should get negative 3 is equal to, that's a little bit here. Okay, so there we go. Negative 21 over 21. I'm sorry, that's not 21. That should be 3 plus b. Negative 3 is equal to negative 7 plus b. If I move this just a little bit to the top so we can see, You add 7 on both sides of the equation so we can get b value by itself, and I get a 4 for that. So my final answer, y equals 7 over 3x. Make sure the slope is the same. Put the b value plus 4. So that would be, this would be my equation for number 5. My last question, again, slope the point. 0 is equal to 1/3 times 2 plus b. 2 over 3 plus b equals 0. Subtract 2 over 3 on both sides of the equation. Oh, I got cut off, but when you subtract these two together, you get negative 2 over 3 is equal to b. So my final answer, y equals 1/3 x minus 2 over 3. That will be my answer to number 6. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go over perpendicular lines here. Alright, so perpendicular lines and what it is. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect that makes it a 90 degrees. So this is an example of a perpendicular line. Pause the video, and if you want to write this down and if you want to copy the picture, please go ahead. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how the slope is related to perpendicular lines just like before. What I need you to take a look at is these two equations that I've written for you, 2x plus 5 and negative 1/2 x minus 1. Now notice that the slope for the first one is a positive 2, and notice that the slope of the second one is at negative 1/2, because it's whatever the value is in front of the x, that's going to be your slope. Now, do you notice anything in relations to these two slopes? I hope you can see that, first of all, one has a negative sign, one does not. Also, one says 2, the other one also says 2, but it says it in the denominator. See, technically the first question, the first equation that we have, the slope is kind of like 2 over 1, if you think of it that way. And if you take a look at the second slope, it says 1 over 2. Now, do you see what happened? It actually swapped its places from top and bottom. We call that reciprocal. A reciprocal means you change your numerator over your denominator, so that a reciprocal of n over d would be d over n. So the slopes of these two lines, of perpendicular lines, in which I'm going to show you on the next slide, I use the Desmos to plot these two lines here. And notice how the line for the first one and the line for the second, they create these 90 degrees. So this is an example of a perpendicular line. Of course, you can go to the Desmos and also test this out for yourself. When you go to Desmos and if you type it in, let's say the 2x, I believe it was 2x plus 5, and then it was negative 1 over 2x minus 1, you will see that these two lines are going to be perpendicular. And notice how their slopes, 2 and negative 1/2 x, like I told you before, these are called negative reciprocal. Okay? So, the relationship between the slopes of perpendicular lines is that the slopes are something called negative reciprocal. You change the sign and you flip over the top and the bottom. So, all you have to do then for today is to determine if the lines are perpendicular or not. So let's say that I give you two equations like these. Okay, I'm going to help you with the first one, and I want you to take a look at the second one. Remember, if the lines are perpendicular, they need to be something called a negative reciprocal. What has to be negative reciprocal? The slopes have to be negative reciprocal. It would be much better for you guys to write this down, that the perpendicular slopes have negative reciprocal, and this will be an example. Please write this down on your notes somewhere, and then pause the video now, and then let's continue once you're ready. Okay, now let's take a look at a couple of examples. The slopes for the first question that you see here, well, there's two equations, y equals 2x minus 14 and y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Now, are these lines perpendicular? The answer here would be absolutely not. Why? Because the slope for the first one is a 2, and slope for the second one is 1/2. That's in front of the x. They are certainly reciprocal of each other, but where is the negative sign? Remember, it needs to be a negative reciprocal in order for it to be perpendicular. And we can also plot this on Desmos. So I'm going to turn these off. And we can say 2x, I believe the equation was minus 14. And the second equation was 1 over 2x minus 1. Look at those two lines. Those two lines are definitely not 90 degrees once they intersect. So therefore I know that the negative reciprocal is the way that you fixed it. So here what you have to say is that you're forgetting a negative sign. Pause the video and try to see if these two are perpendicular lines. I hope that didn't take long. Yes, it's certainly a perpendicular line, 6 over 7 and negative 7 over 6. They are certainly reciprocal of each other, and they have that negative sign in which we longed for. Okay, all right, so now let's take a look at a couple of other examples, and we're going to end the session for today. Find the slope of a line perpendicular to each given line. So if I give you an equation and I ask you to find out what the slope is for the given equation, and it needs to be perpendicular, remember, perpendicular slopes, they always have negative reciprocal. So this is the main objective for today, is for you guys to remember, okay, so last time what Mr. Kim told us was parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocal. That's pretty much the extent of what I need you to learn for today. So if I give you a slope to be negative 1/2, please tell me the perpendicular slope of that equation. The answer here should be positive 2 over 1. Even if you put a negative sign in front of a negative sign, that should make it a positive, and you need to reciprocate it, so it's going to be 2 divided by 1. Let's try one more. Pause the video now and try to see if you can do this on your own. Okay, so getting to the basics of the perpendicular lines, once again, if I give you a slope like this, negative 1 over 3, first of all, you got to multiply that by negative 1, which gives you positive 1 over 3. And then you need to reciprocate it, so that it's going to be positive 3 over 1, which is also the same thing as saying the slope to be 3. Okay, so today you'll have a quick assignment on perpendicular slopes and things of that nature. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys on Monday.